Hey everyone, what's up? I am CTMB Emotionless. You can call me Savage, and better yet, you can just call me Alex, just because that's way easier to remember than a bunch of random letters. So, anywho, let's hurry up right into this. Welcome to Skating for Dummies. This is basically a new series on this channel that I only have like one episode on, and all it really is just teaching skateboarding to complete normies, to people who just got into it. And of course we will get more into the advanced stuff later on, but for now we're going to stick to the basics and move up from there. So let's just dive right in. Today we're going to be learning, well, as I said earlier, the basics. Now the basics, of course, being foot positioning, different stances, different movement, different ways of riding and such as that, foot placement and all that cool stuff and whatnot. So let's dive right in. All right, first of all, we're going to be talking about foot positioning because it is very important on, well, how you ride in the first place, regardless if you ride regular or goofy. So first of all, when you skate regular, that just means your left foot is in the front, right? And then when you ride goofy, that just means your right foot is in the front. Now, that doesn't mean it's different with, with Fakie or I guess switch, but more or less what it does mean is this is your natural riding position. This is basically how you ride naturally, whether or not if you were to just start skateboarding. Like when you get on a skateboard, the way you ride, the way you feel most comfortable will determine whether or not you ride regular or goofy, whether your left foot is naturally in the front or your right foot. For example, me as a skater, I ride goofy. I do not ride regular, and I do know plenty of other people who do, but whatever, moving on. Now, when it comes to foot positioning, which a lot of people who first start out just do horrible on because, no sense of balance and no understanding whatsoever of what is natural as a skater, what you're supposed to do is make sure your back foot is either on the back bolt or on the tail. Now, not full weight on the tail. Usually when you have your foot on the tail, that's like your ready position to be able to do kick turns such as that, or ollies, or whatever trick you're doing. Usually that's good for preparation, but for when you're just cruising and for when you're just beginning out, it's okay to have your back foot just be on the back bolt. Now with your front foot, that's going to be on the front bolt. Now you want to make sure your positioning is like this for when you first start, because that is the most spread amount that your feet are going to be where you end up having balance. Because think of it like a palm tree. Typically the base is pretty, the tree itself is pretty slim and the base is pretty much close to each other. And typically palm trees, as you notice, will a gust of wind blows and they are easily flopping around and such as that due to the wind. But when you think of like an oak tree, their base is more wide, and because they're really wide on base, typically when a gust of wind blows, it's not really the top that's easily being blown around. The whole tree's not moving around more than just the leaves that are, of the tree, the leaves and branches. But even the really wide branches typically don't end up moving around just by 5-mile-per-hour wind. So the reason why we keep our feet wide in the first place is because that's how you gain the most balance. It's sort of just like Taekwondo if you do martial arts in that sense, where the stance you hold is a wide horse stance, I think it's called. I might be wrong, correct me if I am, whatever, tomato, tomato. So that being said, you want to make sure both your legs are spread apart using the bolts and nuts that you have on your board. Those are great constant reminders to make sure your feet are in the correct position. Now, that being said, even though you do have your feet wide, you want to make sure you have your knees bent as well. Because if your knees aren't bent, you're not really staying stable enough. It's almost if you were in choir back in elementary or middle school, they always tell you to bend your knees because of blood circulation. Think of it sort of like that. You want to make sure you have blood circulation and you're less likely to fall. You're more likely braced for impact and you're going to be more sturdy. If you keep yourself straight and completely tense, you're not relaxed. When you're relaxed, naturally, your knees are bent. No matter what, if you're just standing around, you don't keep your legs straight, you have both your knees bent usually, unless you're leaning on something and one leg straight, but that leg you're not applying pressure to. So it makes sense. And that's the basics sort of when it comes to at least how to stand on the board. Now we're going to be moving on a little bit to the different styles of, such as Mongo pushing and then the regular pushing and then such as that. So let's just dive right into that as well. when it comes to the way you push, there's the normal way, which is where you push with your back foot. Like the normal way of skateboarding is you keep your front foot on the board while you push with your back foot, whether or not you ride regular or goofy. Then there's the other style, which is called Mongo. Mongo is when you push with the front foot. That style is not really advised because you're not going to be as prepared for when it's time to do a trick or such as that. Your body will not be able to move fast enough to actually get into the right position. Now typically, unfortunately, I get made fun of this all the time. I'd ride Mongo, and just because it feels natural and fine to me. I've been riding Mongo for as long as I've been skating, just because it feels comfortable, and I don't really see it as an issue to me. Now, the main reason I don't see it as an issue to me is because I don't really skate street. I typically skate bowls, vert, such that half pipes, quarter pipes, and whatnot. So I don't really need to, I don't have to really push a lot when I skate, which is funny. And usually when I'm in the skate park or something, I kind of like get a running start and I maintain speed with the transitions I run into anyway. So I typically don't push that often, except when I'm like too damn slow. So that being said, nothing exactly wrong with pushing Mongo if you feel that comfortable with it and you're able to adjust and get used to it and how to skate with it. But I do highly advise that you try to get comfortable pushing the normal way with your back foot, because that allows you to be a little bit easily more prepared to do street tricks. And also you won't get roasted by your friends or other skaters and whatnot. And they're gonna look at you and you're gonna look like a noob. Yeah, if you push Mongo, you're gonna be a noob. Like, people are gonna roast you. I still get roasted even though I'm better than most of the people that roast me. So, you know, if they're better than me, then by all means, then there's nothing I can do about it. But it doesn't matter. Just ride whatever way you feel is most comfortable. I do advise that, you know, if you're a beginner, it's okay to push Mongo, but I do advise trying to get into the habit of pushing the regular way, just because, you know, it's actually just better and less amount of work you have to do with your legs. Because no matter what, if you push with your back leg will also, your front foot will be in the proper position regardless. All you gotta do is shift it and you're fine. Whereas if you push Mongo, your back foot is facing forward, and so is your front foot as you're pushing with it. And then when you place your front foot on the board, now you gotta shift your back foot, which is also taking up way more time than necessary than if you were just to push with your back foot rather than your front foot. It's something I need to get in the habit of doing, but I don't care that much, and I've been skating for so long to the point where it kind of like doesn't feel normal or right to me, but you know, whatever. If I start doing it at some point, then awesome, but for now I don't really care. Moving on. Now, another type of skating which is actually very important is knowing the difference between fakie and switch, because they are different. They're the same, but they're also different, if that makes any sense, because you're kind of doing, it's kind of like going in the same motion, but your body position will be different regardless. So, okay, we'll start off with the easy one, which is going to be fakie. Basically, fakie is when you're riding backwards. You're not riding the normal way, or your feet are still in the same position, but you're just riding backwards. Now, switch sounds like it should be exactly the same, but it's not. All switch is now instead of riding, you know, regular, you're riding goofy, and vice versa. Now you might be thinking, well, wouldn't that be fakie as well, or just the same as fakie? Not exactly, because with fakie, you're intentionally trying to just go backwards and do a trick as a fakie trick rather than a switch trick. For example, a fakie ollie would be the same foot position if you were to go, you know, for example, as an ollie. Like if I were to do an ollie going my regular way, I ride goofy and I just pop an ollie, all right, cool, I did an ollie. But if I'm going fakie, my feet position are exactly the same way, but I just did a fakie ollie. Now you might be thinking, well, wouldn't that be a switch nollie? No, basically because of foot positioning. Weirdly enough, if you ever noticed, whenever you do a switch ollie, it doesn't exactly look the same as if you were to do a fakie nollie, if that makes any sense. It wouldn't exactly look the same. You know, it looks kind of different. There's something about it that's different, and it's mainly the way your feet are positioned to pull off the trick, because your back foot is slightly shifted or is facing a certain way, and so is your front and your back foot. So they're sort of the same thing, but they're not due to intention. It's all about intention mainly with how you start these kind of things. And your foot position will tell it all. And yeah, that's basically everything about the different styles of riding, the basics and all of that. Of course, that being said, I hope, you know, I did take the time to get the clips for this video. I know I did. I have my brother actually being filmed and myself being filmed so we can display everything. I hope the visuals did help that we did show. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. Before I actually close it out, I want to actually make this kind of different a little bit, because the issue with this series, I think, is that it's not really challenging for those who have been skating for a while, who are like intermediate or really freaking good. So what I want to do is, at the end of these Skating for Dummies, I plan on, of course, putting a challenge in the video just for everyone to actually be able to do, and it should be actually quite difficult enough for those who are also, you know, pretty good, and I think it'd be a good idea for them to do that. So if you're learning how to skate, what I want to do, or I want you to do, is for just an hour while you're skating, ride switch. Do everything switch, no matter what. Even if it terrifies the hell out of you, do it anyway. Because, you know, the big thing that I'm going to actually talk about right now is commitment. Commitment is very important when skateboarding. If you're not going to commit to something when it comes to skating in general, you might as well not do it, because you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to get better, you're not going to improve, and you're just going to continue to suck major dingus. Censorship. So that being said, let me just dive right into what commitment is and how you actually just shut up and do it. Because commitment is one of those things where even I struggle with sometimes, but I just do it anyway. So for commitment with skating is basically, it's not being afraid to, of course, take on the challenge and to try something new or something wild, crazy that everyone wants you to try out and would love to see you succeed doing. Commitment is more like doing that thing you're afraid of, and just so you can achieve that goal. You want to really achieve that goal, and I guess it goes hand in hand with courage. Commitment and courage kind of go hand in hand with this definition, because you're doing something because you really want to succeed. And the only way you can is if you just go out there and try it. Now, you might be asking, well, how do you stay committed to doing something that might end up hurting yourself? Like, don't you think it's kind of wild that you're doing something like that? And yes, honestly, you got to be somewhat crazy to do skateboarding. Skateboarding is one of those things where you got to be a little bit crazy, because if you're not a little bit crazy, you're going to be too scared. Usually whenever I have an idea, I just go for it, because if I sit there and think about it too much, I get scared. I'm gonna be honest, I do get scared sometimes. Actually, there's this thing I'm trying to learn now. I'm trying to learn how to get some major air, because, you know, I think it'd be kind of cool and sick. I always wanted to do that since I was a kid. But the longer it took me to like finally want to do it, and then the more I thought about how to do it and what should I do, or what am I supposed to do in the first place, I got more scared with the more thinking, the more time I thought about it. So usually whenever I have an idea in my head, I just full send. Now, that being said, you should really care about your safety though, because that's very important. If you have a crazy idea, but you know it's kind of dangerous, like no matter what, you have to make sure you take safety in consideration. Now, safety doesn't mean you're a scaredy cat who's afraid to get hurt. No, like I hate skaters who say suck it up or whatever. Like, yeah, of course it's important to suck up pain when you get hit with it, but if you can prevent pain in some way, shape, or form, you still want to do it. Definitely look at the safety options that can help you build up to it. So, anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, cookies and milk, and I will see you guys next time with some more Skating for Dummies. Peace.